Falcons head back out on the road as Todd Walker, the voice of the Bowling Green Falcons on the Falcon Radio Network, joins us now. Todd, thank you for spending time with us on College Football Weekly.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Let's talk about the win over Murray State. Sure, it's an FCS opponent, but you have to get win number one, and the Falcons did so in convincing fashion.
Yeah, and Murray State's a pretty high-level FCS team. They're favored to win the Ohio Valley Conference. They returned all 22 starters, if you can believe that. So they were a team that came in here believing they would win, and you could tell the body language on the field. It was tied at halftime. Murray State really had the momentum. Bowling Green came out in the third quarter, took a nice long touchdown drive off the opening kickoff, and the four scores for a 27-10 win. That was a nice win over a solid, really high-level FCS team. Don't forget the week before they were tied with Cincinnati at halftime before the Bearcats took their measure of them. So I think it's a nice win for Bowling Green. It wasn't a squeaker or a fluke. They really went out and took care of business, and as you said, much needed. Their first win since 2019 after the winless 5-game campaign last year.
And the defense for the Falcons really leading the way. They only gave up those 10 points to Murray State, but they really were setting the tone, and that helped the offense find their rhythm in the second half. If they continue to get that type of defensive performances out of that defense, Falcons could be very competitive this season.
Yeah, it's clear that the defense is the better of the two units. And, of course, the offensive line we've talked about is the main reason that the offense isn't as good as the defense. Right. As long as the guys that are playing now remain healthy. That's always a caveat. But I like the guys they've added in the secondary. Devon Ferguson, Devin Taylor bring a real sense of maturity and also just confidence in that back end. And they can hit. You saw Devin Taylor separate the receiver from the ball on the first series last week. That set the tone. The linebackers are really solid. And our D-line is the big surprise of the year. They've been playing good defense and hope that the offense can, either through developing some sort of running attack or using the short passing game to monopolize the football, will keep the defense well rested. And BG needs to win games this year, I think, somewhere along these lines of 24-20 or 17-10. If it turns into a shootout, they're probably not going to be equipped to keep up in that sort of game.
You mentioned the offensive line, and that line took a hit this week as Sam Neveroff, one of the returning linemen, one of the few with experience, medically retires. So we're not going to have Sam Neveroff on the field this year, but he's still finding a way to help with the program this season.
Yeah, Sam is a well-respected guy in the program. The coaches think highly of him, and it's been apparent really for a few weeks that Sam was not going to play this year. And of course, the decision to retire from playing is certainly up to him in total, and he has made that public now. But he's still with the team. He's mentoring this young offensive line, and, you know, maybe it'll parlay him into a coaching career. Maybe it won't, but he's still a very big part of the team. And these are the sorts of stories that we don't talk about enough in college football. Guys like Sam Neveroff, this could be a real springboard for him to a career. But even if it isn't, the fact that he's still with the team still wants him around, even though they know he's not going to play. And I think, frankly, they've all known it for several weeks now, if not a couple of months. It says a lot about what it means to be part of a team, especially in the football team vernacular. He is a member of the team and will be very much valued moving forward.
Moving forward, Falcons head to Minnesota on Saturday. Now, we know Scott Loeffler, his overriding theme for the program is we're building to go to the moon. Well, their opponents this week is the Minnesota Golden Gophers with P.J. Fleck, whose theme has always been row the boat. He rowed the boat at Western. He has rowed the boat in Minnesota. So the question is, can you row the boat to the moon?
Well, hopefully you can sink the boat in Minneapolis. I guess that's the real thing the Falcons want to do. And if they use a rocket to the moon as part of that, then we'll take it. But this Minnesota team is really good. You know, some people don't like P.J. Fleck and his act, as some people might call it. But you look at that offer, huge. And so is their defensive line. This is a power football team, a classic Big Ten type throwback roster, big offensive linemen, run the foot challenge. There's no question about it.
And that big offensive line for Minnesota, as we saw against Ohio State in their opener, that's an offensive line that they like to do some unique things with. They'll put 6, 7 offensive linemen out there, so it's really going to be a struggle for that Bowling Green defensive line that has, coming off that impressive win over Murray State, it's going to be quite a challenge for that Bowling Green defensive line going up against that massive Gopher offensive line and the different formations they'll throw out on the field.
Yeah, I think the key when you play Minnesota is they go with those extra jumbo packages, whatever you want to call them. Somehow you've got to stop them on first down, make it second and long. They still may keep running the ball, but whether it's through run blitzing at the right time, certain angles, getting some penetration, you can't just let them be in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5. You got to hope you can make some plays on first downs, and they will go unbalanced. They'll have 7 offensive line on the field. It is definitely a unique situation.
And if you're Bowling Green, you look back as to what you did against Tennessee, particularly that second quarter against Tennessee, the last time they faced a Power 5 opponent, and they played Tennessee to a draw in that second quarter. Tennessee won the game, obviously, but you can take some positives out of that second quarter against Tennessee and maybe apply that to the Minnesota game plan.
Of how many quarters or portions of the game Bowling Green's been able to do that. For Tennessee, it was really 1 quarter. For South Alabama, it was maybe 2.5 to 3 quarters. And then against Murray State, it was a full 3 quarters of that game. They really control it. State Minnesota is going to be able to have times where they possess the ball and use that strong running game and strong defense. But this may be the shortest game of the year if both teams are going to go that way. We might get a game in under 3 hours for a change, and that's very possible the way these teams are operating right now.
All right, thank you very much, Todd Walker from the Bowling Green Radio Network. Enjoy your trip to the Twin Cities, and we'll see what the Falcons can do against the Gophers at high noon on Saturday.
Thanks, Mark. Always glad to be with you.